On October 7th, we got a phone call immediately when the bomb started dropping. And Rose said, "Mommy, I'm in the bomb shelter. I'm fine. We're under attack. Everything will be okay." An hour and a half later, we got a phone call that said that I've got my gun, I've got my uniform, and I'm going to guard the gate. And we didn't really know what it meant at that time because we were all sleeping. We woke up the next morning, of course, and realized what was happening. And, you know, that day was a very, very difficult day for me. I'd never felt this sense of just my stomach had just dropped to my feet. I didn't know what to do or how to even, live that day because we were so scared. What we found out was that Rose was a hero that day. We know of one instance, her boyfriend, she saved his life. He told us when we got there, he said that Rose saw Hamas, knocked him down, and the bullets came flying and his life was saved. I heard from multiple people that Rose had met a paratrooper there. In fact, we met the paratrooper, that when he came to Saad, Rose met him and took him to where the landing sites are supposed to be. And he said they were under fire and she had this sense of bravery and took him there, and he was shocked. Because Rose was only about 5 feet tall. But she had this presence about her that was very, very powerful. She was manning this gate, so as they came, she was bringing them in, opening up the gate and letting them in. I talked to a gentleman today from Saad who told me that they found maps, and I never knew about this. He said we found maps that showed where Hamas was planning to attack, and he said that the gate that they were coming to, that was their main focal point of attack, was Rose's gate. For 14 hours straight with no water, no food, she guarded that gate as well as anyone would have. With her life, she was there to give it at that moment. She was a real hero, but it was shocking, and I want to let everybody understand this. She sat behind the gate that day and she fought. She didn't go outside the gate. But when she left the gate, and this would be the next day her commander came to get her to go to work, she had called me when she got on her way back to base. And I heard in her voice this sadness, this loss, this almost like a part of her had been torn away. And I asked her, I'm like, "Rose, what happened?" She said, "I saw it." And at that moment, I understood what she saw. She saw all the death and the destructions that had happened. She saw what Hamas had done. She saw the bodies, and a part of her was taken away. And that's what happened that day. Hamas took a part of us, and it hurt us. It hurt us in a way that we, I don't know how we'll deal with it, but we're going to have to figure out a way forward.
I serve in Magav, which stands for Border Guard, even though what I guard is not a border. I am essentially a combat-trained soldier specializing in anti-terrorism with the authority of a police officer. This means that in one shift, we could give someone a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt or break into a foot chase after someone who threw a Molotov cocktail at a soldier. I serve exclusively in the Old City of Jerusalem, mostly in the Muslim quarter. My battalion's job is to protect the citizens who live in this part of the city against terrorism. Sometimes this means that for 8 hours, we're directing traffic, or that we're standing at the corner of the Via de la Rosa and Agay Street checking IDs for 13 hours. But it also means that every one of us has experienced a terror attack. We wake up at odd hours, put on a bulletproof vest, equipped with a neck guard, handcuffs, pepper spray, body cam, gas grenades, first aid, fire extinguishers, loaded cartridges, and an M5 to work for 8 to 13 hours patrolling where we're stationed. Magav Yerushalayim's motto is, Dorot chalmu la'agia liYerushalayim, velanu yesh et hazchut lagen aleya, meaning, generations dreamed to arrive to Jerusalem, and we have the honor to protect her. This is something that I am constantly thinking about. There are generations of my family who could have been here today if there wasn't Israel during the Holocaust. I feel an obligation to them to fulfill the opportunities they didn't have. It's our duty to watch over the Jews who are living the dream of walking to the Kotel on Shabbat. It is also important for me to say that without the support of my family, friends, and organizations like FIDF, I don't know that I would have made the leap to make Aliyah. The amount of phone calls my parents have received where I was crying and feeling lost, they always pulled me back into myself. They are my voice of reason. I really owe this all to them.
So it was 4:30 in the morning that the consulate was knocking on the door of our house, and we were sound asleep. I was awoken to that, and I came downstairs. I think as I was coming down my stairs, it hit me that moment of this can't be good. And I came to the door and I was like, who are you? Who are you? And I saw a man in a kippah. And our front door, since we have young kids, doesn't have a thumb. You have to have a key to unlock it. And I had to go find the key. And I didn't want to open that door. I knew at that moment what was on the other side. I did not want to open that door because I knew what he was going to tell me. I got to the door and I opened the door and I said, she's hurt. And he's like, no, she's gone. And I just said, what do I need to do? And he said, we got to go to Israel. I said, okay. And I'm divorced from Rose's natural mother, and I knew at that moment that I then had to be the person to tell everyone. I had to tell my children. Of course, I had to tell my wife. And as I did that, it was very clear that our life would never be the same, and it hasn't. But it was also clear that the people that were around us at that moment cared for us in a way that I didn't know. I didn't know it existed. Between the FIDF coming in, y'all helped. The military, Israel, had people around us. Even here, the consulate played a big role in helping us, Israeli consulate, and they kind of picked us up and they carried us. They lifted us up, and they carried us from America, to Israel. But once we got to Israel, the military, Magav met us, and they were there, and they said, your family, we're here for you, and we're going to protect you, and we're going to mourn with you. We're going to tell you stories about Rose. And they did that. And we didn't really have to do anything. We just had to be there. And at first, it was everyone that was kind of giving to us that was lifting us up. And as the Shiva process happened, because of course you saw the funeral with the 15,000 people that we didn't know were there. Once we got through that part and got into Shiva, we started lifting up the people there. And it was very powerful to see people come to us, and they were crying. And they weren't crying in a way that a person cries at a funeral. They were crying that they had lost their own child, like that Rose was a part of them, that our love of life and our passion for life, that every one of these children is a part of Am Yisrael. And they showed us that. And we lifted them, they lifted us, we cried, we told stories. And it gave us a clear understanding that her life was not lost in vain, that there was a purpose to her life, there was a meaning to her life, that all of these soldiers that have given their life, they're giving it for a reason. They're giving it for our freedom. And everyone there in Israel, they get it. Every day, 1,000 people would come and they would line up. And for about 10 hours straight, this would go on. They'd come into the tent, 75 people would sit down, and they'd all want to know, why did she do this? Why did she come here? They couldn't comprehend that this girl would leave Georgia, where she had all this opportunity, a beautiful home, a beautiful life ahead of her, that she would leave, come to Israel, and be willing to give her life. And I would explain to them that she came there because she understood what was happening and that she felt the need to serve. And then they would cry, and we would cry, and they would hug us, and this would go on and on all day. It would probably have gone on all night if we hadn't set times. I'm not kidding. I think people would have continued to come. But the Israeli people, they have this sense that they have to show up. They have to be there. They have to show they care, because it's genuine. It's real.